Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are talking about a ship that is highly sought after, that is trotted out in front of the player base for various events like auctions, Santa containers, so forth, and so on, and a ship that, in my opinion, has been made even more miserable and, dare I say, potentially ruined with, of course, a lot of the changes that were brought about last year, and that is the one, the only, the Musashi. Now, let me, before we get going into the ship itself, just say this about the Musashi. I've always had a fairly, not necessarily negative, but just the opinion of the Musashi for a couple of reasons that we'll get into the video, but I just want to put that out here at the front so that we know where we are starting from. Also, make sure that if you do enjoy the video, drop a like, leave a comment down below. Helps out with the algorithm, helps it gets the video pushed out a little bit more. I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, the Musashi. So, the Musashi herself, why do I think she's a little... So, the Musashi was the second Tier 9 premium battleship after the Missouri. She's available for free XP as well. She replaced the Missouri when they removed her all the way back in, shoot, that must have been 3 years ago, I do believe, 4 years ago. And this was before we had the issue where we had currency inflation, where, you know, everything in the game was fairly tame at that time. So she was also only 750,000 free XP, which does sound like a very good deal today, but again, this is before we had a lot of the super booster flags and stuff. It was after this ship's introduction that they started to crank up the price of the free XP ships to the 1 million and then 2 million area. So she came out, replaced the Missouri. Now, what is the Musashi? She is a Yamato that has been dropped down to tier 9. So it sounds like a pretty good deal. She has, still believes she still does have the largest HP pool of tier 9 battleship. She somehow has more HP than her sister, despite being a whole tier lower than her, but okay, cool. She does have 18.1 inch guns, the same guns that the Yami has. However, her guns are a little less accurate than the Yami. They gave her a bonk to her Sigma, which sucks with the Japanese gun dispersion, but we'll get there. And now she does also have, well, a whole lot less AA than the Yami. Does the Yami have amazing AA to start off with? No. And this is, well, yeah, worse than that. So the Musashi is basically the early war variant of the Yami. This is how both the Yami and the Musashi were launched, and then as the war progressed, both ships got the kind of mountain of secondaries and AA bolted to the side of their superstructure as it became more evident that aircraft were making a big difference in the war. So, yeah. Now, because of that, the Musashi is, well, a pretty highly sought after ship for being a tier 9 battleship with 18.1 inch guns, which means that you can and will overmatch the bow and stern of pretty much every battleship you're going to meet. And you're also in tier 9, which means you can see tier 7 games if matchmaking does smile upon you, which of course means you can bully the ever-living crap out of tier 7 BBs with Yamato's 18.1 inch guns. And not to mention too that she doesn't get the legendary module that the Yami gets, so you can get these guns down to a blazing fast reload time, which, if you watch the background footage, I do slip up and eat a bunch of damage in this game, and I'm getting my reload down to the low 20s by the end of this match with the adrenaline rush skill going on as well. Not to mention too, you can fit Yamamoto as the commander of the Musashi, and if you do get a crack, you can pop his skill, which will get you an even faster reload. If you're wondering what the fastest reload of Musashi is, it's around 16 seconds if you're not in arms race. How do I know that? I was at about 5,000 HP when I popped a crack in Musashi once, and that's how I know that. It's stupid. It's incredibly stupid and incredibly fun when that does happen. Now, why did I have a opinion about this ship if it's so amazing? So, my 2 cents is that, well, at least back in the day, this ship was released still in the old CV era, the era of RTS CVs, when shooting down planes mattered a whole lot more. Well, not that they mattered a whole lot more, they had a lot more of an impact on the CV, and this ship basically had no AA. Not to mention, the guns of the Musashi are incredibly frustrating to use at times. Why? Because she has less Sigma than the Yami. Now, what is Sigma if you don't know? Sigma is the number that determines the pattern, if you will, of the shells coming out of the gun. The higher the number, the higher the chance you have of getting a nice tight grouping out of your guns. Then dispersion is the distance that those shells can shuffle about while traveling to the target. Now, the Yami has a Sigma rating of 2.1, which is very nice, among the best in the game. The Musashi has a Sigma rating of 1.8, which is for a 9-gun battleship at higher tier. Now, on top of that, if you've never played the Musashi or the Yami, you haven't really played too much of them, or you haven't played too many Japanese BBs, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. Japanese battleship dispersion is kind of infuriating. Now, the Japanese battleships up and down the line, they either have a large amount of decent caliber guns at their tier, or a small amount of large caliber guns at their tier, with usually pretty darn good or decent Sigma at their tier as well. This is compensated for in the balancing department by their terrible dispersion. It's really random, it's frustrating, it's not like the American battleship dispersion, which is really consistent. It's just about the opposite of it. And again, granted, for ships that have a large number of decent caliber guns or a small number of large caliber guns at their tier, it's understandable, but boy, is it frustrating. If you've ever seen me play the Yami on stream, you'll notice this quite a bit. And keep in mind, when I'm playing my Yami on stream or in the background footage or whatever, I have the legendary module equipped, which gives us a total buff to our dispersion of 14%, 7% with the normal dispersion mod, and then 7% with the legendary mod on the Yami. And I still get wonky salvos with that equipped. On the Musashi, you can only equip the dispersion mod. You can't equip the legendary mod. Now, you can slap the reload mod and get a 26-second base reload time on the Musashi, which is pretty darn good, especially considering they are 18.1-inch guns, but you still have situations that are incredibly frustrating due to the dispersion. Yes, you are throwing more crap at the wall with the Musashi than the Yami with the legendary mod equipped, but I mean, I've played a lot of Yami. I'm very familiar with the Japanese battleship dispersion. It's absolute pain at times, even with the most accurate Yami build that you have on it. And on the Musashi, it's just even more terrible and frustrating. Now, of course, the upside was when you could get into the Tier 7 games and bully the Tier 7 BBs, and the fact that you still do have 9 18-inch guns at Tier 9 on a premium ship with a premium economy. That did make the pain worth it at times, in my opinion. When the ship was out, it wasn't one of my favorite premiums, but I didn't outright discourage players from getting it. It's just a frustrating ship in my mind, but one that, again, would pay out for the frustration at least. Now, fast forward to today's World of Warships. We had the CV rework, which, I mean, AA, even from awesome AA ships beforehand, is now just ugh. And I know we all say that AA does literally nothing now, but there's a difference between having decent AA to where you can at least contribute to shooting down some of the CV planes, and having Tier 5 battleship AA at Tier 9. Now, what's extra special about last year is that not only do we have CVs in the game now, we have super ships and super CVs. And guess whose matchmaking is royally screwed now because of it? If you said Tier 9, get yourself a cookie. You are correct. So, since super ships are Tier 11, Tier 9 and Tier 10 ships can see them, which includes the Musashi, which has now led to Tier 9 ships being double up tiered a lot. A whole frickin' lot. In the background footage, I believe this is a Super Ship game. I do believe I lucked out and I didn't get a Super CV game. But of the matches I played, to get you guys' background footage, I had played, I believe, 5 matches. 4 of the 5 were Tier 10 with Super Ship games. The other one was a Tier 10 without Super Ship, which was very, actually nice for once. So now, this ship that has basically no AA, more frustrating guns than the Yami, has to deal with Super Ships. Especially Super CVs. Any decent CV player playing a Super CV knows you don't have AA for him, essentially, because they have literal jets. So they can literally just have their way with you, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. So you're stuck with finding an AA buddy and selling around with them for the rest of the match, which leads to people balling up and bunching up in the back with your frustrating guns that admittedly are pretty decent once you get into like mid-ish range, because at that point, even with the worst dispersion, you're still hitting something. So yeah, for me, last year just kind of murdered the ship for me. Now, I'm not saying, you're a terrible person for playing it. I'm just saying it's an incredibly frustrating ship to play now, at least in my opinion. It's just, God, I don't think it's worth what they keep throwing it out there for. For auction, for the Santa containers, I wouldn't want to pay several $100s trying to get this ship in a Santa container just to go be punched in the face by a USS US or a Nakhimov or an Eagle over and over and over again. Now, it's 100% true that, sure, if you get in a Tier 9 game where you can see Tier 7 ships, sure, it'll rip those apart. You're going to get a ton of overpins, don't have any illusion about that, but yeah, you'll bully the crap out of Tier 7 battleships. Like, keep in mind, this thing can see the Colorado. But the fact of the matter is, matchmaking for Tier 9s is mostly double up tiering now, thanks to super ships needing those Tier 9 ships to fill up their games. So, yeah, I'd avoid it, guys. Again, if you get one in a container randomly, it's a decent ship. Really frustrating to play. It's just being screwed over by matchmaking and super ships now. That's my 2 cents on the Musashi in 2023 and World of Warships. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering where this ship would have been at in my battleship tier list video, it was going to be in that video. It was going to be in the A bracket, and I was essentially going to say what I said here, but in like a funny joke or something about dealing with super CVs, but I accidentally read the second draft of the script instead of the third draft of the script when I went to record the audio. So it's still in the A category. It would have been in the S category probably, before super ships would have been added into the game, but that's where I would have put it in the list if you are wondering. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, again, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.